I woke up to pounding on my front door. Not the polite kind. This was the kind of pounding that made you wonder if the apocalypse had finally arrived, or worse, if Karen had. And no, she had. She was standing there, breathless, eyes wild, clutching a little Ziploc bag like it was a nuclear detonator. "Do you know what this is?" she demanded, shoving the bag toward my face. "It's breakfast." I deadpanned, still half asleep. Karen's nostrils flared so hard I thought she might take off like a jet. "It's proof. Proof that your dog is a menace to this neighborhood. And I am demanding you get him DNA tested immediately." Now, for context, my dog Max is the most innocent creature alive. He's a golden retriever who once tried to befriend a squirrel for 3 weeks straight. If he could write an apology note to a blade of grass he accidentally stepped on, he would. The idea that he was some sort of criminal mastermind, sneaking around leaving poop grenades on lawns, was laughable. But Karen wasn't laughing. Oh no, she was on a mission, and unfortunately, her mission involved me. Max's alleged crime had apparently taken place the night before. Karen claimed she witnessed suspicious movement near her hydrangeas. Suspicious movement. Not saw Max. Not caught him in the act. No, she saw something move in the shadows and apparently decided it was my dog. I tried to explain that Max was inside all night, curled up on the couch. But Karen wasn't having it. She said she had already taken this sample to a special pet DNA lab online and was ready to cross-reference the results once I provided Max's genetic profile. And yes, she was dead serious. The thing is, this wasn't just a random neighborly spat. This was Maplewood Lane, a neighborhood where the HOA took themselves so seriously that last year they tried to ban inflatable snowmen for distorting the visual harmony of winter decor. Karen wasn't just a resident, she was the unofficial sheriff of the cul-de-sac, patrolling. With her binoculars and clipboard. If you had a lawn gnome, she knew. If your trash can lid wasn't fully closed, she knew. If your car tires touched the curb paint line by 1 inch, she really knew. So when Karen decided my dog was public enemy number 1, it wasn't going to be a quiet matter. This was about to become a neighborhood spectacle. I made the rookie mistake of laughing in her face. Apparently, this was hostile behavior and a refusal to cooperate with a formal HOA investigation. Within the hour, flyers started appearing on every doorstep. The flyer claimed an unidentified canine perpetrator had struck again, terrorizing local property owners, and that DNA testing would soon bring the culprit to justice. It didn't name Max directly, but let's just say the silhouette looked an awful lot like him. Neighbors started talking. Mrs. Delgado from across the street said she'd always suspected golden retrievers were trouble. Mr. Harris joked about starting a neighborhood poop registry. Even a mailman looked at me differently that morning, like he wasn't sure if I was harboring a fugitive. The HOA called an emergency meeting for Saturday. Karen promised to bring all the evidence and make an official motion to require dog DNA testing for every pet in the community. That's when I realized this wasn't just about Max anymore. This was about principle. And Karen had just started a war she wasn't ready for. By the time Saturday rolled around, Maplewood Lane had turned into a full-blown crime scene, at least in Karen's mind. She'd gone door to door with a clipboard, taking witness statements from anyone who would listen. I overheard her asking an elderly neighbor if they'd noticed any suspicious canine loitering in the area. At 10 a.m., the HOA meeting began in the clubhouse. Now, if you've never been to an HOA meeting in a suburban neighborhood, imagine a courtroom drama mixed with a middle school cafeteria fight, except everyone is over 40 and wearing sensible shoes. I walked in with Max on a leash, not because he needed to be there, but because I wanted to look my accuser in the eye while I defended him. Max, oblivious, wagged his tail at everyone like we were there for belly rubs and treats. Karen was already standing at the front, a projector set up behind her. She had slides. She had charts. She had a timeline of poop incidents dating back 6 months, and somehow every dot on that map was suspiciously close to my house. She clicked to the next slide. "This," she declared, "is the Maplewood Menace, the Phantom Pooper, and I believe the evidence will lead us straight to—" "Max," gasped from the audience. Someone actually whispered, "Oh my God," like she'd just revealed a serial killer. I raised my hand. You do realize Max has been inside every single night, right? We don't even take late walks. He's more of a couch potato than a criminal mastermind. Karen smiled, and not the friendly kind. That's what criminals say. The meeting descended into chaos. One neighbor suggested building a doggy lineup to compare poop shapes. Another proposed installing security cameras on every lawn. A third, and I swear I'm not making this up, asked if we could hire a poop detective. Karen seized the moment. Luckily, I've already taken initiative. I've contacted a certified canine forensic specialist. They'll be arriving Monday to collect hair samples, saliva, and any other necessary evidence. I couldn't believe it. We were now 2 steps away from a full FBI operation over one pile of poop. After the meeting, Karen followed me out to the parking lot. Just so you know, she said, refusing the DNA test will make you look guilty. People are talking. I leaned down so we were eye to eye. Karen, people are talking because you're handing out flyers with poop on them. She gasped, like I just insulted the sanctity of suburban justice. We'll see who's laughing when the results come back. That night, I started my own investigation. If Karen wanted to play detective, fine, I'd beat her at her own game. Step 1, check my security camera footage. Step 2, talk to my neighbors. Step 3, find the real culprit. It didn't take long. On the footage from 2 nights ago, around 10:45 p.m., I saw a medium-sized black dog trotting across my lawn, pausing by the hydrangeas and doing the deed. Definitely not Max. I recognized that dog. It belonged to Mr. Jenkins, 2 houses down. The same Mr. Jenkins who never came to HOA meetings and once let his Halloween decorations stay up until March. I smiled. Oh, this was going to get good. The next morning, I strolled over to Mr. Jenkins' place with my phone in hand, ready to solve this ridiculous saga in 5 minutes. He answered the door in sweatpants, holding a mug that said world's okayest golfer. Hey, Jenkins, I started. I think your dog may have had an adventure in Karen's yard the other night. He groaned before I could even show the footage. Please tell me she's not on another crusade. Oh, she's on the biggest crusade, I said, handing him my phone. He watched the clip, chuckled, and shook his head. That's definitely Duke, he admitted. Slipped out of the yard again. Look, I'll talk to her and clear this up. I thought it was over right then and there. Naive of me, because when Jenkins approached Karen, she didn't back down, she doubled down. According to witnesses, the conversation went something like this. Karen told him, that footage could be doctored. Everyone knows you and Max's owner are friends. When Jenkins pointed out that his own dog was on camera, she replied, a guilty man would say that. By noon, Karen had updated her flyers. Now, she had 2 suspects, Max and Duke. The headline read, The Poop Syndicate, 2 dogs, 1 conspiracy. I almost admired the creativity. Almost then came the police. Well, technically community patrol, which was just Officer Barry, a guy in his late 50s who drove around in a golf cart with flashing orange lights. Barry stopped me while I was watering my front lawn. Hey, Karen says you're refusing to cooperate with an investigation. Barry, it's dog poop. Yeah, but she's been persistent. He scratched his head. Look, I don't care who did it. Just maybe humor her. I sighed. If I humor her now, next week she'll accuse me of jaywalking with Max. That night, Karen escalated again. I woke up to find a neon sign staked in my front yard reading, DNA test now, clean lawns for all. She'd even taped a small plastic bag of evidence to it like it was a campaign poster. That was it. No more playing nice. I printed copies of the security footage, slid them under every neighbor's door, and included a friendly little note. Max is innocent. Duke is the real phantom pooper. Sleep easy. The neighborhood split into factions. Team Max wore smug expressions when I passed by. Team Karen whispered about cover-ups and fake videos. It was starting to feel less like a suburban street and more like a political scandal. And then Karen did something I didn't see coming. She announced that she'd hired a private investigator. Not just any PI, one who specializes in animal-related cases. I didn't even know that was a thing. But apparently, in Karen's world, it was about to become very real. Monday morning, 9 a.m. sharp, a black SUV rolled up to Karen's driveway. Out stepped a tall man in a trench coat, sunglasses, and gloves, the full noir detective look, except instead of chasing mob bosses, he was here for canine crime. Karen stood beside him like she'd just summoned Batman. "Neighbors," she announced, "this is Detective Harold Chase, an expert in pet-related criminal investigations." Detective Chase gave me a nod like we were in some crime drama. "I'm here to collect samples," he said gravely. Before I could even respond, he started circling my yard with a metal briefcase, pulling out swabs, gloves, and little plastic tubes. Max sat by the porch, head tilted, probably wondering if this guy had snacks. Karen followed him with a notebook, documenting everything. Every blade of grass inspected, every leaf turned over. When Chase reached the flower bed, Karen whispered like she was narrating a nature documentary. "That's where the first incident occurred, a bold strike." I crossed my arms. "You know Max has an alibi, right?" Detective Chase straightened up. "Ma'am, I don't work on assumptions. I work on evidence." He took first samples from Max, then, I'm not kidding, asked if Max could provide a saliva profile. By the end of the morning, Chase had 3 bags of suspect fur, 1 mystery poop sample, and a notebook full of crime scene notes. He promised results in 48 to 72 hours. Karen was beaming like she'd just cracked a mafia case. "Finally, we'll have the truth." 2 days later, the results came in. Chase arrived for another briefing, which Karen insisted be held publicly at the HOA clubhouse. Chairs were set up, neighbors gathered, and I swear someone even brought popcorn. Detective Chase cleared his throat. After careful analysis of the genetic material provided, he paused for drama. "I can confirm that the DNA collected from the incident site does not match Max." Gasps. I smiled. Vindication at last. But then he kept going. "However, it also does not match Duke." The room went silent. Karen's smile faltered. "What do you mean it's not Duke?" Chase glanced at his notes. "The genetic profile belongs to a small terrier mix. Approximately 20 pounds. Female. Older." The crowd erupted into whispers. "A terrier? That wasn't even on the suspect list." Karen's eyes narrowed. "Then that means," I could see the gears turning, "she needed a new target." And then she froze. Because there was only one small terrier on Maplewood Lane. Her own dog, Princess. For a moment, the room just froze. The revelation hung in the air like a bad smell. Then the murmurs started. "Wait, Princess, Karen's dog." I knew that little thing was shifty. Karen's face went pale, then red, then pale again. "This is ridiculous." Princess would never. Detective Chase calmly slid the printed DNA report onto the table. "The match is conclusive. 99.9% certainty." Karen snatched the paper like she could rewrite it with sheer willpower. This could have been planted. Someone could have put my dog's DNA there." I raised an eyebrow. "Karen, are you suggesting someone framed Princess for pooping in your yard?" Karen turned to the crowd, voice trembling with righteous fury. "This is a conspiracy. Someone is trying to humiliate me, and I will not stand for it." The neighbors weren't buying it. Jenkins leaned over to me and whispered, "If she calls for a full neighborhood lockdown, I'm moving." But Karen wasn't done. She pointed a finger at me. You've been out to get me since day one. I bet you collected Princess's samples and planted them just to get revenge." I laughed so hard I nearly choked. "Karen, I'm not committing bio-sabotage over dog poop." The HOA president, Mrs. Whitmore, finally stepped in. "All right, everyone, let's take a breath. We'll review the evidence," but Karen cut her off. "Evidence, the real evidence, is that our neighborhood has been under siege by deceit." The room was about to explode when, like a gift from the universe, Mr. Harris stood up. "I wasn't going to say anything," he began, "but I've got a Ring camera. And, I think you'll want to see this." The footage played on the clubhouse TV. Princess, in all her rhinestone-collared glory, was caught red-pawed. Not only in Karen's yard, but on my lawn too, a week before the so-called poop crime wave even started. The crowd erupted. Some laughed. Some clapped. Someone even shouted, "Case closed." Karen's jaw dropped. "That's not recent footage. It could be from years ago." Mrs. Whitmore sighed. "Karen, the timestamp is last month. And Princess is wearing the sweater you bought her this winter. That sweater had #Queen stitched across the back. There was no denying it. Karen sputtered, searching for words, but all that came out was a dramatic, "This meeting is a farce," before she grabbed Princess and stormed out. For the first time in Maplewood Lane history, the HOA actually voted on something unanimously. The poop case was closed. No mandatory dog DNA testing. No more flyers. Jenkins came over and slapped me on the back. I thought this was going to end in bloodshed. Max wagged his tail like the happiest acquitted defendant in history. Karen, she avoided me for weeks. Princess, however, seemed blissfully unaware of her new infamy, trotting around like she owned the place. I wish I could say the peace lasted forever. But this is Maplewood Lane. By spring, Karen had found a new crusade, accusing someone of planting illegal dandelions in her lawn. But for now, I savor the small victories. Max's name was cleared. My lawn was safe. And best of all, the neighborhood finally saw that sometimes the loudest accuser has the guiltiest dog. A month later, I got an anonymous envelope in the mail. Inside a photo of Princess, mid-poop, on what was clearly Karen's own front walkway. No note. No explanation. I framed it and put on my mantle. Max still hasn't forgiven me for laughing that hard.